Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're in the right place at the right time. And I tell you, it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We've got some program changes for today. Dion Harden will not be on the show today. He had an emergency situation and popped up, and he is not able to be on the show today. But I am so excited to be able to bring my sister on to hang out with me for the next hour, and we're going to have a wonderful show because she's always got something going on in her world, and I'm so looking forward to hearing about it. So just not dilly dally any longer. Let me just um, give you my announcements for the start of the show. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Hunt. I always like to give my mentor a shout out because it's important to celebrate those that have always been there for you. Dr. Hunt has been a part of my life for 30 plus years. He's always been a blessing to me and my family. So I always like to celebrate him every chance I get. It's been 30 plus years is a long time. You know, if you've been with anybody 30 years, you know that they have a value and an importance in your life. So if you don't have a mentor, get one and celebrate them like I celebrate mine. Okay? I want to invite everybody to go over to my website, ask-dr-ron.com. When you get over there, please take a look at all of my advertisers that are there. Here's a few of them listed here: RRJ Web, Sir Synergy, Port Again Sam, and Prince Hunter Financial Group. Also, as a sidebar, I want to mention the fact that Chief Nomo is going out of business. And if you're interested in picking up on some of the products that he still has left, swing by his shop and see what he has available because everything is for sale. He's going back to Ghana for good. He's given up the United States, and I am not mad at him. So go by, click the banner, see where his address is, and go check him out. I want to make sure you go check out these advertisers that I have listed here because they are doing some great things. Sir Synergy, if you're interested in understanding how to make money off of green energy, saving money, solar panels, things of that nature, click on the flyer, take you over to his website. Osei is a regular on the show, and I tell you, he has always got some adventure that he can tell us about when he comes on. So support his business. Port Again Sam, if you like wines and spirits from all over the world, check out Port Again Sam and see what specials he has available. Also, if you're interested in learning the stock market, the Forex market, Prince Hunter Financial Group is offering 4 free classes. Check them out and see when you get your 4 free classes and begin learning on how to make money that can sustain you and your family for the rest of your life. Well, that's it for the announcements. I have the honor and the privilege of having my sister on the show with me today, Miss Naimah Latif. And I tell you, I know I said it wrong, didn't I?
No, 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 you got it right.
I got it right. Oh, wow. It only took about 5 times, for me to get it straight, but I finally got it straight. Back with us, I tell you, she is a broadcast entity all by herself. She's up early in the mornings, late at night. I tell you, she broadcasts with the women, she broadcasts with the men. This woman does not stop. I tell you, it is always an honor and a privilege to have her on my show. Welcome back.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always fun.
Yeah, I like that's a good way of putting it. I like to have fun. If you ain't gonna enjoy what you're doing, then you're not gonna do it. You know,
Right.
and we've had plenty of times to have you on the show, so we know that you're a book author, an entrepreneur. You're always out celebrating in the community. I follow you on some of your shows. She makes it her business to make sure I know what show she's on, and she sends me a little messenger or a message or whatever they want to call that little thing that pops up when you open up on
Yeah.
Facebook. And I tell you, is she at it again? You know, you know. And then she's got sisters that they've had me on one of their shows with the sisters, and I thought I
Yeah.
did good, but they were trying to beating up on me. They was talking about, well, what's the answer? What's the answer to the question? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
You
I
want
just
to know.
yeah, and I was just like, it ain't no answer. Okay, it really ain't. Save yourself. Get a life jacket. But it's always enjoyable, to try and offer up, little lifeline, little helps that that can be beneficial to, because you never know who's listening.
Absolutely. You never know who's listening. You never know who's watching.
And
So,
that's exactly right. And that's been my inspiration to keep showing up doing what I do. Because people always say, "Well, you making any money?" Nope. There's a whole lot of people following you. I don't know. Because I want to deflate anything that they might say that might be a discouraging word towards what I do. I've learned a long time ago, as long as I show up and do what I do, I never know where God is going to send it, who God is going to touch, and what we say is so powerful sometimes. I don't even know what I'm saying half the time,
mm,
and that's the truth. And that came about from a testimony from some years and years ago, 10 years ago plus, when, I was just doing what I was doing, and then when you do it, you get discouraged, you know.
mm,
Discouragement says, why am I keep coming down here doing this day after day? And I wasn't even doing video at the time. I was just doing, internet radio. And I'm like, well, why am I coming down here? Gas wasn't $10 a gallon, but I was wasting
mm.
my gas. And I was bringing snacks and bringing, stuff, wine for my
Wow.
guests, just trying to, keep people encouraged, to want to come on my show. And I had a show one time where I had a single father,
Mm.
and he was talking about the struggle of single fathers, and how the system was never set up for single fathers. So he was just giving us his testimony, how hard it was to, get insurance, get food stamps, get everything, as a single father, because they used to the women coming getting these things, but they were not used to the single fathers.
Right.
And that show touched a single father. And he had been
Oh,
a fan of the show, and he had been watching the show for so long. And he called me up one day and he said, "Man, I was so discouraged. I was ready to commit suicide and die." And
wow.
my words to him was, "What did I say? So I can say it again."
Right.
And because I had no idea that it was something I said or something that the guest had said, but whatever it was, if it saved a life, I wanted to keep on saying it.
Say
You
it
know,
again. That's right. That's
because I
right.
want to keep encouraging people on whatever they need to hear whenever they need to hear it. So from that day to this one, I ain't got discouraged no more. I ain't never gave up no more. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and now I got video. Y'all can see me in my face now.
Yeah.
So what's going on in the hood? I know you know everything that's going on. The summertime in Chicago. I seen you all dutied up one day out there with the ancestors doing what, not the ancestors, but the
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
elders, but the elders,
Yeah.
doing some things. So what's going on?
Well, I really had the privilege of attending a fabulous ceremony. African dignitaries from all across the continent came to Chicago to present Reverend Jesse Jackson with the title of King. And it was
Okay.
a beautiful ceremony, and they were honoring him for all of the work that he has done over the decades for world peace, for Africa, and for lifting up uh, justice and equality and opportunities and all of those things. And I just was overwhelmed. It was just such a momentous, historic occasion because we sometimes we take people for granted, especially if they live right here in the city. We can go down the street and see them whenever they have a meeting, but it's not like that for people who live in other countries and they see. I mean, just like we see Nelson Mandela, they
Right.
it's like we see Nelson Mandela, they see Reverend Jesse Jackson. They're just an icon,
Right.
and just to be in his presence and to do this event, it was so gratifying because we realized that we have made an impact all over the world, and the organization Rainbow Push is recognized globally, and so many people have been helped, so many countries have been helped. So in bestowing him with the title of King, and then that was a beautiful event. And then I got an opportunity to interview the king from Ghana, who came here to make the presentation. I got a chance to do a one-on-one interview with him. And, we talked about that sensitive issue of the fact that, there's some African families that profited from the slave trade and, actually
Yes.
were involved. And he said, what we need to do is just acknowledge it and say we're sorry.
Yeah.
Acknowledge that we had a hand in it. We were participating in it. It was all came about because us fighting each other and selling each other into slavery, and we just need to admit it and say we're sorry.
Yeah.
And so that was uplifting to hear because we get so caught into blaming the Europeans, but they never could have got in the door if the Africans hadn't opened the door to let them in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
he was saying, come on back home, regardless of what country you're from, because a lot of people are getting a DNA test to find out, where their actual origin. But he said it doesn't matter. The whole continent belongs to you. Come on
Right.
home and feel free to interact, to do business, to settle. Get citizenship. I think Ghana even has it where you can have dual citizenship.
Yes, they do.
There.
Yeah.
So
Ghana offers dual citizenship for
yeah,
anybody who's interested in applying for it. And it's funny you should say that because, it's always been a desire of mine when I really retire. I'm
yeah,
retired, but when I really retire, that, God is such a beautiful country.
yes, yes,
It's one of the places that offer, tropical places to live, and it's very affordable. And
yeah,
one of the things about Ghana is that they're receptive to hear what we as modern day, Americans can bring there to help them, generate prosperity in their country, because Ghana has so many riches, and many of the countrymen there don't have the skill or the knowledge that we can add to them on management and producing and creating, generational wealth,
yeah,
and they welcome it. They know that we have a key to the puzzle that they need, you know, and it's very unfortunate over the decades, you know, um, I had the honor and the privilege of being in Ghana in the early 90s when they established their very first parliamentary form of government. So they've had a stable form of government for a very long time now.
mm-hmm,
And
yes,
because at one time before they had their parliamentary form of government, they wasn't no joke either. They would have
oh
a
yeah,
coup on a regular basis, and they would, you get off the airplane, if you wasn't the right color, they stick a gun up your derriere and tell you get back on the plane,
mm,
and they meant it. But between Ghana and South Africa now, there has been a stability in their government that, people should not fear not to go there, you know. And it's a beautiful place. I kid you not. I was there for the very first Panel Fest that they ever had.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. When they offered entertainers from all over the world to come, and there were people that came from different places, and make you laugh. I was there with Muntu Dance Theater of Chicago.
hmm.
We
Wow. I know that was
we
an
we
experience.
took African dance to
Yeah.
Africa. So it was very interesting. It was very welcoming. Because Ghana has a national dance company themselves that have traveled worldwide. They've been here to the United States and have toured. So their national dance company has been nationally acknowledged. So it has been. We are losing internet connection. Let's see if we can get that back. Y'all stand by. Let me work a little magic here. See, can we get this connection back together? Seems like she dropped out for a second. Let's see if we can connect her back. Y'all stand by. Don't go nowhere. We're going to reconnect with her in 1 second here. Stand by. We have technical difficulties, so we're going to see can we connect with her briefly for a second. We've lost connection. Her internet is acting funny, y'all. We don't know why her internet is acting. There we go. We got it. Yeah, it's coming back online now. So y'all stand by. We'll have her back on the air. There she is. Your internet is acting a little shaky today, so no
Yes.
problem. But
Yes.
you're back. So, like I was saying, I don't know what all you heard, but Ghana, we
Well, you
had
tell
the
me about the first
Panafest.
was it Panifest with
Yes, that was a welcome.
what
That
year was that?
that was
You
in the
remember?
early 90s. I think I want to say 1990, something like that. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, the very
Because
first.
I went to Liberia in 1984, I think, for the
Hmm.
World Conference of Mayors. That was an interesting experience because Liberia had just had a coup not too long before that.
Right.
So, I mean, you saw the soldiers with the machine guns all along the streets. It definitely had that military presence there.
Hmm.
And they were just getting to the state of stability. But I learned a lot about what happens, I guess, in a lot of African countries that are getting to the point of stability. You had the colonialism, and then the fight for freedom, and then the fight for power after the fight for freedom, and then you finally get some level of stability. But it was a process for a lot of the
Right,
countries
right,
there.
right. And it still is.
It still is,
It still
yes.
is. It's not over with yet.
Not over.
And the one thing about Ghana and in West Africa, Kwame was the leader of
Yeah,
Ghana who encouraged a Pan Africanism form
yes,
of unity. That
yes.
meant every country worked together to establish a unity that we all can be, united. And some countries, still follow that, plan of action or wish for action or wanting that type of thing to happen. And I applaud them, because you think, and I'm going to say this, I was talking with someone not too long ago, and they brought to my attention that there is, I think, is only one country on the continent of Africa that is allowed to be invited to the United Nations,
Mm.
and I think that's South Africa. Now you can fact
I,
check
I
that.
I know South Africa is. I'm not sure if they're the only ones still. Well, I know
Yeah.
there was a time when South Africa was the only African nation. that
Yeah.
was participating in the United Nations. That may have changed over time. I have probably look that up, Google it, I guess,
Yeah, yeah, and you
and
can fact
see.
check that if anybody knows. I'm not trying to be, putting a bad mouth on the continent of Africa, but they have different layers of national
Well,
organizations. They got
yeah.
the G7 and they got the G20, and none of the countries are even in the G7 or the G20. But there's, plenty of countries on the continent of Africa that have national stability. There are some that do and some that don't. And you got to look at things like this. If continent of Africa was so much garbage, then why have every European country tried to go over there and dominate?
Well, it's for the resources, and
Exactly.
people can really only dominate you if your thinking is small and selfish, and you're trying to figure out. Because I mean, really, what happened was greed. The reason why we ended up over here,
Right.
instead of those who were in positions of leadership seeing the bigger picture of these people coming over here want to take over the whole place. They're thinking, oh, if I can get their weapons and I can rule my neighbor over here that I'm trying to overtake. And they didn't see that they were basically being played against each other until everybody lost. And then by the time they realized what was
Right.
happening, it was too late.
Yep.
Everybody was weakened. You got your youngest, strongest people hauled away.
Yep.
And it's the greed factor that really inhibits the unity today, because you still have places where you know folks do everything for a bribe, and the dishonesty, but it comes down to each individual. Either you're going to operate according to higher principles or you're not. If you
Yeah.
don't, you might get ahead for a minute, but in the long run, you sell your people out, you're going to find
Yeah.
out that you've lost
And
everything
that's
yourself.
exactly what happened. And the fact that they are willing to apologize, you
That's a
know,
big step.
yeah, because, well, you put it in their face.
Yeah.
In West Africa was one of the largest slave ports, where
A lot of
people
friends that have
left.
been to,
Yeah,
Goree Island and all of those places where
that's right.
captured people were
For
held
a
before being
thousand
shipped
years,
out.
they shipped slaves out of there. And even to this day, some of the richest tribes in Ghana, like the Ashanti and the Yoruba, they profited greatly. They're religious organizations slash tribes that benefited, and wealth stayed with them for centuries.
But that's the thing. Um, there are a lot of families, just like there are a lot of families of European origin here, whose wealth came from that whole industry. I
Yes,
mean, their family wealth came from selling people or selling the products made by the people who had been sold.
exactly.
And, as we talk about reparations, everybody is not guilty and everybody's not innocent. I think it's difficult to pinpoint who deserves to pay, because as we expand and people intermarry, you got whites intermarrying blacks, and who's really able to trace their lineage back to a specific African family, and you have the guilty and the innocent that have intermeshed. So it's difficult really to deal with reparations, but there is a reality that there are families, and they know that their family wealth came from the slave trade on both sides, both the
Right.
Europeans and the Africans. And I think there needs to be some type of way that those families who've had wealth, something that they either contribute to, or something, some portion of their wealth, their income, or something that goes into some fund, maybe some education fund or housing fund, or something that pays those people who can trace their ancestry back to those who worked for centuries for nothing. I mean, there has to be some kind of way to make it fair so that people who are still benefiting from what their ancestors did do pay back what the money that they're living off of now. I don't know how we
Well,
can do that, but I know it's doable because you can trace everything now.
right. And you say that, and some educational institutions, and I don't know if we talked about it together before, but some educational institutions have began the process of offering African Americans free education. Okay, and I'm talking about Harvard, places of that nature, where they realize that their institution was part of contributing to, the slave trade,
Yeah.
and there are other institutions that have stepped up and have offered. Now, I don't have any college age children, so I don't know which ones they are, but there are many that have begun to step up and say, hey, we need to do something about what has gone on in our past and our history to try and make things better. And I think education is a positive step in the right direction. When you can go 4 years of college without having to pay a single bill afterwards, that's definitely a big plus. And that's
Big plus.
that's investing into the future of a family,
Yeah.
education, a prosperous family at that,
Right.
so
You know what else I'd like to see? I'd also like to see a fund for those who want to start businesses, because not everybody wants to go from high school to college.
exactly,
Some people, they got a
exactly.
business idea, they just need the seed money. And I think that option should be available as well, because we need a whole lot more businesses. We need a lot more well-funded businesses. Most of the time, people end up struggling and not being successful in business because they don't have the capital, they don't have the seed money, they don't have the credit, they don't have the things that make it possible for you to grow over time. So they end up trying to work while they run a business and you raise a family and something, you juggle enough balls in there, one of them going to fall eventually. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's the family that suffers. Yeah, my business is successful, but my spouse left me because I
Yeah,
was never home because I was
absolutely.
running a business. So that happens too much.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
need to
Now let me
make it.
ask you a question. See, that leads to a very important question of today's what we see around us. And we talk about Black Pride, and we have a concern, in the skin that we're in. And I always say, whether you're African American, colored, black, whatever you go by this week or this month, because it's subject to change, but it all boils down to the same thing. We don't look like the Europeans. Now, the Europeans of late have been promoting this thing that they call white power. Like they feel like they should be in control, they should be the dominant everything of the United States. And every time, blacks try to rise up, then they try to do anything in their power to try and keep us from, accomplishing any levels of success or the American dream. I look at so many things that are right there in your face, like, we've got, rednecks. Can I say that? It's my show. I can say that, right? Rednecks that
Hey,
go out and get rifles and want to
if your
kill.
father's gonna get mad at you, hey.
Hey, I'm just telling the truth. They get mad. They shouldn't be a sponsor on this show. And they go out and buy assault weapons and want to kill up as many, people, Jews, whatever they aim their weapon at. And the hatred, is stemmed or based on the fact that we want white power to be supremacy. We want to be in control. We want to take control, and we got to take it, and we're willing to die to get it. I think there's too much evil and hatred that has been endorsed and has been, being promoted, throughout the communities that we live in. When a person drives all the way to, Buffalo, New York to kill just black people because they just black, or people of color, and a guy gets up on top of a building and just starts shooting people because they Jews. There's some problems that exist in the mindset of Europeans that feel like they're gonna, scare us back into wanting to be on a plantation somewhere. Really?
Well, first thing I would say, terrorism is effective only if it creates terror.
Hmm.
And we should not be obsessed with the thought that people have a power that they do not have. Yes, people can go and buy all the guns, all the ammunition in the world, but there are unseen forces that will not allow what some people may fear is, oh, it's going to be a race war. No, there isn't. There isn't. Because there are more people who are against that mindset than those who think they can scare people back into a state of submission. You can't, number one, because the fear is not there anymore.
Right.
And you have several generations of people who have gone to war, people who have learned how to shoot weapons, people who are operating in all kinds of areas of defense, whether it be on a police force, in the military, in a security company. And then you have a whole bunch of people who just buy guns off the street. So even the police will tell you that often they are outgunned by the citizens.
That's true.
So the gun manufacturers have been so greedy in the proliferation of guns. That's why the police are so paranoid now, because they don't know who's armed and who isn't, because they've been sold everybody. They've been sold underground everybody.
Yep.
And all of those, white supremacist groups that are operating out of fear, because their fear is that we're going to initiate a race war and go after them, because there's always that fear of retaliation for the anger that many of us still have over slavery and Jim Crow and lynchings and all of that. So there's always a paranoia that many white conservatives have that blacks are going to uprise. And that's why the over policing and all of that, it's out of fear. But we should not be carrying fear of them. We should not. Mm-hmm. Because truly, there are too many people that are armed for that kind of a thing to happen. And you say people are willing to die. No, they're really not. They'll talk about it, and they might, in a very cowardly way, shoot up a bunch of unarmed people. Somebody go into a church and shoot up a Dylan Roof, go up, shoot a church meeting, really?
Yeah.
So, you don't have people who talk like that facing folks in the street that they fear. The street organizations that they're terrified of that are armed. You don't have them coming to face them. You have them doing little cowardly acts, going to a shopping center where no one's armed. You don't have them facing people. When you go and face people who are armed just like you are, that's when you're willing to die. They're not willing to die. They're willing to terrorize. There's a difference. And so you never have to fear a coward, because that's all that is. That's cowardly talking, fear talking. But it's not going to be successful because there are too many people that are putting forth a higher conscious thought. Sometimes I love to go on Facebook and see some of the YouTube videos, even going on YouTube and seeing a lot of the videos that are exposing this nasty attitude of racism. And it'd always be a thing where somebody's taught a lesson. They're mean to some person, and then that person ends up either being someone in a supervisory position over them, or someone who has the ability to enforce some type of punitive action against them.
Yes.
Authority, but they didn't know it, so they're being nasty to them. So they have so many different producers of videos now that are really teaching lessons.
Yeah,
and
anecdotes. I've seen them. Yes.
Yeah, and they're very effective. So there's a new thought that is permeating not just this nation, but really this world.
Yeah.
And that old repressive, racist kind of thinking, that is not going to be sustainable in the future because young people are not following that. Again, you got so many young people that are traveling, they're intermarrying, they're involved on intimate levels with people of different races, religions, cultures, and all of that. So how do you track people by race when more and more people, when it comes to the census form, they got to check other because they're, a little of this, a little of that, a
Exactly.
little of that.
Exactly.
So even the basis of racism is disappearing. And therefore, that mindset is disappearing, and people are being slapped back for trying to promote racist ideas. So each thing that happens, each act of terror is awakening more people to the reality that that will never win. And now you've got masses of white people being shot, children being shot.
Right.
So now they see people who think like that. Those are the ones that'll come out and kill you because that's the cowardly behavior. Somebody who's full of hatred at some unknown thing. Usually they got a problem from childhood, but they come out and shoot people, innocent, unarmed people, children. So each time that happens, that awakens more and more people to the reality that that's a stupid notion. Oh, we're gonna white power. We're gonna take back our country. No, you're not. And you're seeing more and more people in that January 6th event. More of them going to jail and everything else. That was a stupid idea, but somebody got the notion. Oh yeah, we're gonna take our country back and make America fight again or whatever it is they thought.
Yeah.
No,
They bought the hype. They bought a bill of goods. They bought a bill of goods.
And it's not happening. So
Yeah.
So Black people don't ever need to be afraid. We don't need to live in fear. We don't need to feel that we're oppressed. And even as police get exposed, those who are out here in a state of paranoia and whatever other little mean bullying thing they have going on inside of them that makes them overreact to every Black person, even that's coming under check. And folks are getting fired, folks are going to jail. So it's being removed, that element of thought. And we need to know that that's what's happening.
And what you're saying is so positive. The more the light of exposure is on these issues, no matter where they have been hidden, they're coming to the surface for deliverance. That's another way of putting that. If you got an issue with the race of people because of their skin color, you do not need to have a badge.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I it hurts me to my heart when I hear about 90 bullets going into a young man, and or being shot at a young man, and 60 of them hitting him, and then out of fear, after being hit with 60 bullets, you go handcuff him.
That's insanity.
Yeah, you shot the boy in his feet. You didn't hit him in every part of his body. There's no way humanly possible that he gonna do anything ever again in this life. And for a group of armed police officers who's supposed to be trained to be able to subdue a situation, that's part of their training. They didn't deserve the badge that they represented. And to be exposed, they've been on the force way too long. They should have been off the force. If you got that kind of fear, quit. Go home and sleep at night. And don't be, intimidated and afraid. I'm gonna pull over a Black person and I might get killed today. You don't need to be in this job.
Well, all of these things that happen are happening so that we can see that the policing system itself does not work and eventually will be abolished. Eventually, because you can't have a system where you deprive people of a means of survival And then when they do what they feel is necessary to survive, even though it might be considered illegal,
What they say is illegal.
what they say is illegal, then you want to clamp down and punish them. So when you take away the opportunity for people to get what they need, you create a climate for theft.
Yeah.
So you have that element. And then you have the removal of educational opportunities, training opportunities, opportunities to earn a living in a way that is considered legal. And then you, on purpose, make it possible to earn a living selling that which you have decided is illegal. And then you make it possible for guns to be spread widely among the group that you're allowing to sell what you've determined is illegal.
Right.
And now you're paranoid because you're thinking everybody's carrying a gun because you made it possible for them to have it. And so now you're treating everybody as if they're armed and drug
dangerous.
dealers and all that.
Yeah.
But you created that problem.
Yeah.
So
And,
instead of us trying to make money off of a system that's designed to send people to prison, which is the continuation of the slave system, all of it needs to be abolished. Just make the system right.
yeah.
Give everybody equal opportunity. Give everybody a chance to live and support themselves honorably. Share what we have in a way that is decent, and make sure that everyone's needs are met, and no one will be angry. No one will need to have arms. No one will need to attack anybody because everybody will have the opportunity to get what they need. It's very simple to create a fair and just and equitable system. As long as we refuse to do it, then you're going to have people who we think we need to employ to police everybody and make everybody conform. And then those people are always going to be in a state of paranoia because they're afraid that they're going to get shot every day. So that system itself is not sustainable. And we need to see it. And as long as we keep seeing it, eventually the collective mind will understand it needs to be abolished. And we need to create systems that work, which means they need to be equitable and fair for everybody. It's such a simple thing. You can't have a society, you can't have a civilized society with extreme inequality. You can't, because you suffer. Trying to make somebody conform to being mistreated doesn't work. How many times we have to see people shot up before we get that message? So when I see things happen, I know it's just a wake-up call. It's a humanity's wake-up call for us to change the system we've been living under because it doesn't work. Anybody who's suffering is going to cause somebody else to suffer. So we just need to make sure that nobody's suffering, and then we won't have any more problems.
Yeah, you made me think about this quote that I had shared on another show that I've done. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but I think it fits right here. I say Black Lives Matter because all doesn't cover black when they say all men are created equal. I say Black Lives Matter because all doesn't cover black when they said with justice and liberty and justice for all. I say Black Lives Matter because they're still struggling with the definition of all. So I thought that was kind of, it fits right there with what we're talking about. They have a problem. When I say they, I mean Europeans in government, Europeans in position of authority. They don't know how to deal with us. People, of African descent. Black, like I said, colored, brown, whatever word or term you go by, how you identify yourself this week. They don't know how to deal with you. They don't know how to understand you. And I tell people all the time, don't think that you can go out and buy a gun and think you got rights to carry it. No, you don't. You better make sure that you are aware of a lot of different things when you go out and get a concealed carry. Talking about I got the right to carry the gun. No, you don't. You black. You ain't got.
What happens, and people really need to realize this too. Most of the time, the person you end up shooting at is someone close to you, not a home invader or intruder or somebody trying to rob you on the street. Because usually if people are robbing you, they get to drop on you. They're not going to give you a chance to shuffle through your purse and get the gun, or, reach into your back pocket and get the gun, or, try to find it in the drawer in your house if they come. Most of the time, if you are robbed, you are not going to have access to that gun. But what does happen in the midst of an argument with your loved one, you pull out that gun and you shoot. And that's who ends up getting shot. Someone
Right.
you love who you're temporarily angry at,
Yep.
and you wish you hadn't done it when you come back to your right mind, but you did it. And that's where a lot of the gun violence ends up hurting someone, not in acts of self-defense,
Right.
but in acts of
Yeah.
uncontrolled anger.
That's a whole scenario by itself. Yeah,
Yes.
by itself. I,
So, I really believe that we're headed for better days as long as we learn the lesson that we're learning from each of these incidences, that none of this is going to work. Violence isn't going to work. Violence to combat violence isn't going to work. And trying to force people to accept inequality and injustice at the threat of prison, death, or whatever, that's not going to work. Just like
yeah.
it was thought that we would stay enslaved as long as we feared death.
Yep.
And that system was kept in force by public beatings and public killings and all of that, and yet it's over.
Yep. We still here.
So we're still here. So
Yep.
what did we learn from that? You can't make people be inferior. You can't enforce it with law. You can't enforce it with violence, because the creator has made us all equal and no one
Yep.
can change that. You can't create a system to make it be inequality, because you did not create the universe.
Exactly.
Only the creator of the universe
Yep.
is in control.
That's right.
And that is who's going to win in the end. And so any other system is not going to last.
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing. The end of a system of inequality and suppression and oppression that didn't work.
Yep. Now you guys figure out something else. Can't we all just get along?
Can we all just get along?
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
I can always count on you to be positive and bring the reality of the future, looking
Yeah.
forward to where we're going, hitting the mark that's ahead.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that likes to remind people that don't forget where we came from.
Oh yeah.
I tell them constantly, because on another show that I do on Street News Now, I constantly remind them that we cannot forget about, the history. Our ancestors' blood cries out for us to never forget what they did to them.
And never allow it to be repeated.
Exactly. And that's one of my points that I bring up, that when the Jewish community will never let you forget about the Holocaust. Never. They're going to have, Holocaust remembrance ceremonies every chance they get. Okay. And they always say, oh, well, that's okay. They're allowed to do that. They struggled and they suffered and they survived. Well, what the hell you think happened to us? Hey, look, we struggled, we survived. Our ancestors were, put through, just as much death and destruction trying to destroy us as they did towards the Jews. So,
Yes. But you know what we should do?
hmm
I look at what happened with the Koreans after the Korean War, and even after the Japanese after World War II, when they were devastated. The way they came back and the way they got revenge was to excel, to have their next generations of children
yes,
excel in business, technology, science, so that they excelled in the world and they could never again be put in a position of submission. That's what our responsibility is to have our children excel and give them a vision of why. You're doing this for our ancestors.
right,
If we talk about the past and don't learn from it and get propelled into the future from it, then all we're doing is wallowing in it. And that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't help if it doesn't make us stronger and better. So we have to take the knowledge of what happened and say to ourselves, never again, and never let ourselves be put in the position of submission to anybody. We need to master law, science, education. Uh, we need to be in levels of politics and business. We need to master all of these areas of our own control of our own environment so that no one else can have control over us ever again. We need to be growing our own food. We need to master agriculture. We need to be healing our bodies. We need to master medicine and technology. We need to master all of the sciences so that no one can ever be in control over us again. We need to be saying never again. And I believe
Amen.
that that's happening. I see many people educating their children now, and I see many people that are looking futuristically and realizing that our children need to have a different vision. Our children have to see themselves differently. They can't see themselves as oppressed or weak or poor
Right.
or disadvantaged. They got to see themselves as the powerful people that they are. And that's when we give them that kind of vision, that's how we end up on the Supreme Court. That's how we end up in the White House. That's how we end up at the head of industry. We got to see it, and then we can be it.
Like James Brown used to say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. You remember
Yeah.
that? I know you remember that.
Yeah, that was the theme. And I do want to give a shout out to the organization that is giving, and I'm so honored to be one of the honorees for the Big Ten Black Alumni of the Year Awards, the Banbury that is going to be held July 28th through the 30th at McCormick Place here in Chicago. A celebration of many of those who graduated from those Big Ten schools that have gone on and made a mark in the world, I guess you'd say. And so they're honoring 10 of those Black graduates from those predominantly white institutions. And that again speaks to a generation that took the knowledge of what happened to our ancestors and took it forward and used it as a motivational tool to make a change. And so I just think that if we instill that same thought in our children, then they will take it even further. They will take it abroad. They will make a difference, not just in America, but in the world, because they will have no boundaries in their mind. And they will never, ever call themselves a minority because they will know they are not minor people.
Right.
They are major, and they're going to have a major impact.
Okay. Well, look, we got about 10 minutes left on the show. So, where can they find you? What all you got going on? That's going to take at least 30 minutes right there for you to explain all of that, you
Well,
know.
I'm really excited because we are growing and expanding in our media network. I manage a daily news website called On Air, which stands for Online Network of Associated Internet Radio Hosts. And we've got hosts from really, literally around the world who have as a mission to put forth positive, uplifting, motivational information, empowering information so that we can make a transformation. And we report on the things that are happening, such as the travel of kings from Africa coming here to America to honor one of our civil rights icons who's had such an impact. News of those who are doing major things that save lives and help lives. Dr. Willie Wilson and his
Mm-hmm.
philanthropic work in addressing the financial needs and sharing his wealth and setting an example of what you should do when you have wealth to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
needs of the people are met. So, we reported on events from across the city, across the nation, and across the world, giving people a sense of hope. We've got a number of news affiliates in print, radio, TV, who are always out there, ear to the ground, keeping us informed. And we've just covered the last election and gearing up for the general election, but letting people know, those who are hoping to win our confidence, to be in a position of leadership and um, responsibility. And so I do a piece every morning called 5:55, and I'm up at 5:55 a.m. every morning, And basically, it's just a little message, kind of, I guess you say, my spiritual ministry. But basically, what I'm doing is pointing people to a video that's been put out by one of the people on the on air network. We call them the Voices of Enlightenment. Those who are using the internet to whatever their ministry is, whether it's new thought, religious, non-religious, but forward thinking, new age, whatever you call it. But it's giving people the power to transform their own lives by taking back the power that's already in their hands and using it for the betterment of themselves and their communities. So every morning we're on Facebook Live at 5:55 with that message, pointing them to somebody that they need to listen to, a message that will help them and give them some inspiration. And then, of course, we've got our daily radio TV show, The Female Solution, coming on 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and Central Time. And then, of course, 12 noon to 2 p.m. on Saturdays and 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sundays. And people can listen to that at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Also live on our Facebook and YouTube channel, The Female Solution. And also all the hosts have their Facebook and YouTube channels. And so we expanding that network, and I'm just really excited at the wonderful guests that my team of hosts have brought forth. People who are healers, people who are introducing new technology, and today we talked about organic farming, and just really helping to change the world by giving people knowledge. So I'm really grateful for that. And of course, I do a weekly TV show, The Media Connection. That's our news affairs show. That's where you see us all over reporting on things. And then, of course, you can see us every day on YouTube on the Media Connection TV, and then twice a week on cable TV channel 19 in Chicago and other cities. Just check your local cable listings. The Media Connection TV show. And we get a chance to interview some interesting people, like the King of Africa from Ghana. I had a chance to really get some insight about how the people back home feel about our relationship and how they really want to see us mend that and give African people descendant from those on the continent an opportunity to come on home. And then, of course, we also participate in shows like yours.
Yes.
Every week we're participating in Woman to Woman with Wanda Carter, and also her weekly shows on Wednesdays and Thursdays on Facebook and YouTube. And, we get a chance to, from time to time, be a guest on various shows throughout the internet. And I'm really grateful that so many voices have stepped up, because we need to continue to put forth a message of empowerment so that we are no longer seeing ourselves as helpless victims at the mercy of other people who can destroy us, because that's not who we are. If we were, we would have folded up long time ago during slavery, and we're still here. After all that, we're still here. And one of us was 8 years in the White House, and we got another one, vice president, who knows what the future may hold, but certainly she's also there, vice president.
She's in line. She's in line to us.
That's right. Yep. And we got a whole lot more in the pike. So I'm really grateful. I think the greatest thing that will happen, though, is at some point we will have a society that no longer needs to identify according to race and other divisive, non-existing divisions. We're one human family. And when we get that point, then we can create one world system where everybody's needs are met. Everybody participates in the process. No one is angry, and there will be no crime or violence or poverty anywhere. And that's the new earth that we're working for.
Amen. Look, I was going to ask you, would you like to leave something with the people? I think you just did. So the only other question I need to ask is, will you come see me again?
Oh, anytime.
All right. Okay. Well, that's a beautiful thing then. So I want to thank you for dropping in on short notice. I told you you're a precious gem. I appreciate you. And I thank you. With all that you do, you still found time to drop in to help me out in a pinch, you know, and I thank you for that.
Yeah,
You know,
I was out in my garden before you called it. I looked a mess before I had to really fix it up real quick
oh, you
because
did a wonderful job. You look gorgeous.
I'm out
You
there
look,
growing my vegetables.
yeah, look what they say, marvelous. You remember that guy used to do that? You
Yeah,
know,
you look
marvelous. Yes, marvelous. And I can't
marvelous.
thank you enough. I really appreciate you. And I just want to speak life and words of encouragement to any and everything that you put your hands to, and let it continue to prosper and bless as it is designed to do.
Yeah.
And I just can't say it enough. I will always support what you're doing, just like you support what I do. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you so very much for having me. It's always fun, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next time.
Yes, ma'am. Because we always have good conversation, don't we?
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right. Well,
Saving the world in 1 hour.
yes, sir. We got it in. Look, I want you to stay right there. We're gonna end the show. So I want to invite people to come hang out with me on Thursday on Street News Now on Facebook and YouTube, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Come check us out. Six Guys and You. We always got something interesting to talk about. Join us and be astounded by our great knowledge of things. Also, I want to invite you all to come hang out with me on Saturday, each and every Saturday from the desk of Dr. Ron, every Saturday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will try and give you guys some life thoughts to be able to hold on to be able to deal with what's going on in your neighborhood. And I want to just invite you all to go over to the website, ask-dr-ron.com. When you get over there, please browse around, check out all my advertisers, support them. They help make it possible for me to do what I do over here. Also, I want to thank each and every person that have made donations and contributions. I thank you guys. You guys, I love you so much. Keep up the good work. And please subscribe, like, and share. So that's it for this week. Once again, please spread the word. Tell somebody, love somebody, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.